You're going to let an all-pro go and not pay him the money he deserves, but yet you're going to dump millions and billions of dollars into your sports complex because all you fucking give a shit about is selling merchandise and putting people in the seats. And all you give a shit about is like, let's all talk about the Dallas Cowboys and how good we used to be in the 90s and everything. Well, this isn't the 90s anymore. Okay? You have to fucking pay players. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Rivalry Rundown, episode 4, coming live, actually not live, but recording live, on a Monday, Labor Day. I feel bad for everybody that has to work, so unfortunately, I got off, Daniel got off, seems like Brett got off.
A lot of people getting off.
Yeah, a lot of people getting off, guys. Okay, let's keep this PG-13 a little bit. Okay.
On a Monday, of all things,
start.
man.
A roaring start.
It's not even the weekend.
It's not even 12 o'clock. Man. So, big week of college football just happened. And I'll tell you what, I enjoyed thoroughly having college football back. Sitting on Saturday mornings, watching college football. Week one, you kind of have some of those mixed emotions. Like, there is some good games, but then there's really some, like, not so great games. I will tell you, the Florida State-Alabama game was unbelievable. Obviously, you can tell Daniel is repping everything Florida State today, which he should. They played amazing. Another good game, LSU Clemson. I realistically thought that was going to be a little bit better of a scoring game, but man, it just kind of goes to show you the SEC and the ACC defense on those two teams are unbelievable. I will say catch of the year probably has to go to that Miami wide receiver. Week one, that was kind of impressive. I'm not going to lie. I don't know who could top that. That was pretty incredible.
Well, it was kind of crazy because you had Florida had one as well. So
I know.
Florida with a one-hander and Miami with a one-hander within 24 hours of each other.
And all the kick returns, like.
But you know what?
Did you see all that? That was crazy.
Their games. That yes, they won. Those catches are great, but their games didn't have the same implications as the real state champions, FSU, in our game. So,
well, we're gonna let you kind of go off a little bit on Florida State here because, I will tell you that was really unexpected. I was hoping Florida State would win, just because I love an upset, and whenever you get upsets, especially with an unranked with a top 10 team. Man, that just kind of proves that Daniel and I's point that we were talking about, AP 25 is a fucking joke. Like the first 3 weeks of football, like it is the joke. Like you honestly can't sit there and just pre-rank teams based off of the record, the transfers, and what they did last year because you don't know what that team looks like.
Well, look at K-State. They've lost twice.
K-State won. K-State did win. Well, they came back and won. Yeah, so they ended up.
They almost still kind of a loss, though.
To
you look at their game.
Yeah.
Look at their games, though. That's still in my line. Okay, if we're looking at it the way we talked about last week, right? And you're taking the rankings out of the situation, out of the conversation altogether, right? And we're gonna wait till week 4, get through week 4 before we rank them. They lost. If you look at that game. Yeah, the scoreboard may have a W, but if I'm taking subjective data to determine whether or not where you should be ranked, that's 2 losses in a row. Before the AP has even been able to re-rank.
So you're saying that K-State, because they only won by 3, is technically realistically a loss for a top 20
against
team?
An FCS.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree.
They struggled. They were at home. So, and they almost lost to North Dakota at home.
I mean, well, if you
But
go
that's
back to the
terrible.
Iowa State game, you see how bad they really struggled to move the ball down the field. K-State
Yeah.
did against Iowa State, who I came into the season going, I don't know who they are going to be offensively because they lose Noel and they lose Higgins. So it's like, what team are you going to put forth? Now, granted, I understand they had a great season last year. Beck is back. Rocco Beck is back leading the helm. But I don't know who your offensive go-to guys are going to be. And sure enough, you get to week one, it's K-State, Iowa State in a very rainy, soggy, and Daniel called it, the better team that runs the ball is going to win. And it just K-State looked flat that week. And then they come out against North Dakota and they look flat again.
Well,
So
I mean, finish your thought. I mean,
no, I'm just saying, like, it's kind of like, why do we pre-rank these teams based off of records and what they brought in this year? Then why don't you have Missouri ranked then? Because Missouri brought in a top 5 recruiting class this year and a top 5 transfer in the NIL or the transfer portal. So why is Missouri not ranked? They literally were ranked last year, but you snubbed them this year? That doesn't make any sense. Is it because the quarterback controversy? Okay, then rank them 25th then. Let the quarterback prove it. But
I was just going to say,
that's all I was going to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say Kansas State's really struggling without Dylan Edwards right now. I mean, he's such a big part of what they do. And for him to get injured in a freak injury the first game in Ireland, and they're saying the whole reason for that is because like there was too many fireworks and it was like foggy. The game was the field was foggy and he couldn't see the ball. And I saw that was a crazy reason for his injury. But yeah,
Wasn't
that's
that
just
on the
a freak
punt?
injury.
Was that on
yeah,
the
it was
punt
on
or
the opening, like the opening kickoff or the first punt return of the game or something like that. And I remember he got injured really early in that game, and they kind of struggled without him ever since then. So they need to find other guys to kind of step up.
Yeah,
I will say
agreed.
it is. They do light off all. I mean, it's huge celebration, all that stuff. Like I said, haven't been in that stadium during one of those games, but it does stay pretty foggy in there. It doesn't blow through there. The way it's set up, you're not getting a great breeze to come through to clean all of that out. So you would think, this being the third game, the third year in a row that we've had a college football game starting off the season in that stadium, that they would have had this ironed out. Like, think this through.
Yeah.
It's the same complaints every year. The turf conditions are terrible. People are twisting ankles, having injuries, and having to go through 4 or 5 different cleat changes trying to figure out how are they going to gain traction. Their game plans don't work because you can't stick with a true ground and pound run, because as soon as you try to turn or do anything, you're on your knees. The passing is horrible because you try to gain that traction to run, but then when you jump, anything like that, you have the risk of hurting yourself. And then, of course, like to your point, you can't see anything. It is a haze the entirety of the game.
Yeah. Like the entire first half, I mean, it was just hazy because of the smoke. And like, it was like, come on, Ireland, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah. I mean, especially that time of year, Ireland gets a ton of rain as it is, but going into fall-ish weather that time of year, I mean, you're expected to have rainy conditions. And it looked miserable out there. The field condition looked rough. Like, it looked soggy. Like, you really couldn't put a foot in the ground and plant. And so it's alarming right now that you're going to have a team, K-State, that I technically think should fall out of the rankings. I know it's week 0, which realistically everybody's like, oh, well, it doesn't really count. I'm like, well, it kind of does. Like, you played a Big 12 school and you guys were both ranked, and you let the team that was, I believe, lower ranked beat you. And so it's alarming for K-State to find this many struggles this early on. Now, granted, it is early on. They might be able to turn the corner, but I don't know. I didn't see a lot that I could realistically from K-State go, yeah, they're a team that is going to compete for a national championship or even a playoff spot for that matter. So we'll see going forward what K-State has to offer, but I have a feeling they are going to fall rapidly out of the top 25, if not so already. So All right, let's go to the one game I know Daniel is very excited to talk about. All right. Florida State hosted Alabama. Alabama was ranked 8th in the country. Again, a lot of question marks with Alabama. I do know they lost a big wide receiver early on, that Williams kid. So, but it really didn't matter what Alabama put out there. Kind of Florida State kind of had their way with Alabama all day. Talk about a team that's in a pissed off resurgence.
You mean there's life in Tallahassee?
100%. Like, if it didn't prove it on Saturday, then I don't know what you watched, because all I saw was a football team that was just gritting their teeth and just getting after everything. So I'm going to let Daniel kind of take the helm on this, because I know he enjoyed thoroughly every bit of Saturday.
We go back to last week when we were talking about Miami and all of that and made that comment. You know, we talked about Miami being the biggest disappointment. We got all that flack on TikTok. I'm not even going to give the guy, I'm not even going to say his name. Okay. He knows when he listens to these clips that he should go back into his little hidey hole. There's life in Tallahassee, guys. Try to tell everybody. They're pissed off. They're tired of sucking ass. Like, the last couple of years has just been completely uncharacteristic. Let's be real. I mean, we've gone through the ringer with our coaching staff and everything since Bowden left. The whole transition to Jimbo was kind of weird. And then Jimbo doing Jimbo things that he's shown his colors over the years. Yeah, we had a great run there for a little bit with him. But then since then, it's been an absolute up and down. Totally was bought into Norvell when he came in. So, yeah, coming into this game was hoping. Alex and I were talking about it. You know, we were hoping it'd be like a 27, 24, maybe sneak it out. A lot of faith in Gus Malzahn. He knows the SEC. He knows how to coach against these teams. And, man, does he know his running offenses. He's a mastermind with that. A lot of faith in Tony White. Dude's been a defensive genius. Yeah, he's done a lot of great things. I mean, hell, even Nebraska had great defenses, even if their offense couldn't perform. And, man, they showed it. That first drive, I was a little concerned. It's like, holy crap, we're doing this again. This has got to be really bad. I will say, though, I felt pretty good that it took them almost the entirety of the first quarter to actually get down the field to get a touchdown. So it's like, all right, if they can keep them slow, maybe we can kind of keep ourselves into it. And then, boom, it just took off. So just across the board, though, the efficiency that we had in third and fourth down situations, Castellanos backing up his trash talk, even though he says he wasn't actually trash talking everybody. We all know he was. Came out and he performed. Man, they just looked good. It literally took a bad bounce on a punt to get Alabama an opportunity to get back into it. And then they still they just couldn't come back from that. The defense had a complete shift in their vision, in their strategy, really. They made so many great adjustments to just shut down everything Alabama had to offer. And we just, to Alex's point, had our way with them. We ran and ran and ran all we wanted to because it was a safer bet. But then Castellanos could sit there and throw that ball whenever he needed to. And it just, we picked them apart left and right. So I'm excited. It was a great game. I don't remember much of the rest of the weekend. It took me till yesterday evening to finally get my voice back. Yeah. Now we just have to be prepared for our loss this week against, was it East somebody, A&M? Yeah, East Texas A&M. And then Kent State the week after that. I mean, why? I mean, we won the game that matters, right?
I don't know
that's
if
going to be Miami's outlook.
Matters.
They beat Notre Dame. That's the game that matters, right? They're going to lose to everybody else the rest of the year, but they're going to fold. Miami's going to fold faster than a lawn chair in November. Okay, let's just be real. Like, it's just going to happen.
I mean, the big story this week was, can Miami, being in the top 10, continue the trajectory up and up and up this year? Can Carson Beck come in and change the dynamic and the outcome of that team? So again, FSU is 100% back, and they are physical. All right. Again, Florida State's offense ran for 230 yards and 4 touchdowns. They bullied Alabama's defense. I mean, bullied them. Like, they They had nothing. Their defensive front four was supposed to be the strength of that team. And FSU is a team that struggled to run the ball last year. All right, let's remember that. They were one of the worst teams to run the ball. They were more physical.
Not only that, we couldn't
determined.
score more than 15 points a game last year. So
exactly. And they had all the hype going in because, they're like, hey, Florida State's going to be back and all this stuff. And then it didn't go the way they wanted. Winning only 2 games last year is a struggle. But the transfer quarterback of Tom Castellanos is not only is he a dual threat because he ran for 78 yards and a touchdown, but he was also keeping Alabama's defense completely off balance all game. It was a spark that they really needed moving forward. And he showed poise.
He ran a lot,
everything,
but he wasn't scrambling for his life either. That was the best part about it. If he was going to run, he was running because he saw an opening and he was going to go get those yards. And honestly, that takes me back to Jordan Travis when he finally hit his stride. The same mentality, like he's going to stay in the pocket, but if he sees that he can go get the yards, he's not going to rely on everybody else. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to make this win happen one way or the other. So that was good to see. Winston was the same way. So, dude, it was great to watch. We play Miami on October 4th, so we have a couple gimme games to get ready for them. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, a month to get ready for. Probably, I would say it's going to be a Saturday night football game at that point.
College game day game.
I would think it would probably be a college game day.
It's at home. It is going to be in Tallahassee, so that is going to be a huge game.
Brett, I know you might have watched that game, and I don't know if you saw what I saw, but that was not an Alabama offense that I'm used to seeing.
No,
they looked really bad after that first drive, and they marched down the field for a touchdown. 16 plays, took nearly 9 minutes, and then after that, it just they fell off. Like they had all this momentum after that first drive, and then it just crashed and burned. They finished with 87 yards rushing on 29 carries. 29.
Yeah.
That is insane. Like at that point, what are we doing? Why are we running the ball 29 times? So, we are in a big hole, big hole. Like, why are we running it continually?
I just think people watching that game, they're going, Nick Saban, where did you go? Where did you go? What's this Kalen DeBoer system? I mean, again, they've just been regressing the last couple of years. Jalen Milroe and that really started with those teams, and they just started to slowly start to get downhill. And it looks like the Alabama dynasty is finally dead, or at least dying out here. Again, it's early on; it's just one game. But they showed some glaring holes right out of the gate there that said, well, if you don't fix these fast, you're in the SEC, buddy, and you better turn things around. Otherwise, you're going to be out of the college football playoff just like that. So.
Exactly.
Well, and they're supposed to be a team that's fairly well established, but it's not like they had a huge roster overhaul or anything like that. The majority of our entire offense and defense is all new. The entire front five on offense hadn't played together.
Yeah.
So you have an entire team, offense and defense, that are completely new. There are a lot of transfers. There's new blood that we brought in through recruiting, that their only opportunity to practice or to learn each other has just been through practice, which is why we didn't do a spring game. They wanted to make sure that they had more focus on the long term here, not let's just get ready so we can go do an exhibition. No, focus in, stay close to home, keep behind closed doors. We don't need the hype. We don't need all the noise.
Yeah.
Let's focus up on getting into the season and make sure that we can work as a unit and coming out right out the gate. It doesn't matter who you're playing. I was concerned that coming into this year that if we were playing Jacksonville State, we were going to get run all over. Okay. It's just, how do you take a 2-10 season and kind of make that huge transformation? It's usually going to be small steps to build off of that.
Definitely.
Not a big swing, immediate. 180 in the other direction. So, is Bama really that bad? I think their quarterback played well. I think, honestly, they have a lot of talent there on the team. I just think that they weren't ready. Maybe they thought that they were going to walk into a cupcake.
I want to talk about Alabama's quarterback because Ty Simpson did struggle a lot under pressure. Now, he did look solid in moments. Let's not discount that. He did look solid. He does look like an Alabama quarterback or a poised Alabama quarterback. but his inexperience really did show on Saturday. He was hurried, pressured consistently, often looked very uncomfortable in the pocket. And when he was under pressure, his accuracy was not there. Like he just did not have the touch on the ball. And it was just very shocking to see him unable to make a play for a team that has that much talent. That much lack of offensive cohesion is a huge concern for probably for DeBoer and his staff, because you get, what is it, all fall or all spring of last year, and then all summer to work out with, or just figure out what your gonna makeup is gonna be, and that's what you showed. Now, granted, I understand you're playing in a very hostile place at Florida State. I get it. I
It
get that
was
it's
loud.
I get that it was loud. I mean, they were commenting on there. They were like, they added about 12,000 seats, and it sounds like
They took away.
they took away 12,000
12,000
seats, but it
seats.
sounded louder. And I don't know if it has to do with the modifications that they did with the stadium, but it looked like it was like just really difficult to kind of hear anything, make any changes, do anything. It looked like they had a lack of discipline all across the board. So Alabama committed several costly penalties, number of late hits, unnecessary roughness, and extended Florida State's drives left and right, and just constantly gave them a momentum. And they just couldn't take anything back. Going in at halftime, I was like, if Alabama doesn't turn this around, this is going to be just an ugly shootout. It's just not going to look good. And that's sure enough what it turned into. So it's a clear sign to the team that they need to do some adjusting with this new coaching staff that they have. They need to meet some standards that were set by Nick Saban, I feel. I understand you brought in a new head coach. DeBoer is going to change the way he runs an offense, but what's that kind of transition like, do you guys think? Like whenever you have a guy that came from Washington, ran a really good Huskies program, but again, remember that was amidst the Pac-12. This is the SEC. This is not your Pac-12 teams. This is not where you can get away with a couple things here and there and still manage to win big. You are coaching in the SEC for the second year. And for the second year, you are now starting off on a very bad foot. So do you think it's do we need to go back to the drawing board and start implementing some Nick Saban things that were there that maybe some of the old coaches know? Or do you think DeBoer just needs to continue to ride this horse and hope things change with, the players that he's got? I'd be interested to hear what you guys say.
I mean, I think you got to ride it out for now with what DeBoer has. And I still think it's too early for year 2. But if we get to week 4, week 5, week 6, and the same stuff keeps happening, it's like, okay, well, you got to make a change, or something's got to happen. Maybe it's even earlier than that, because again, you know how fast it is to get out of the college football playoff if you keep losing games. So I would give it a couple more games, maybe 2 or 3 more games, and then just kind of see what happens from there. I mean, you gotta stick with what works. You can't immediately just change it up. I know it looks bad right now, but that's what I would do. I would ride it out a little bit more, and then we'll see what happens.
I think it's hard to come. Okay, I'll backtrack. It's one thing for a head coach to come from the Pac-12 or some other conference and go to be a head coach in the South. Not just the SEC, just South football in general. It's a religion. It's a completely different thing than it is on the West Coast. To come, to try to make that transition, you can do that, but you have to have the coaching staff around you that understands South football. But he brought Ryan Grubb with him, who has only known the West, literally University of Washington, then the Seahawks, and that's great. He was in the NFL, all of that great stuff, but West Coast style football. Finesse, trickery, all of this stuff. You don't know ground and pound, loud environments. It's just blood, sweat, tears, and you have to find a way to scratch and claw to get every single one of those wins. You can't bank on the fact that, to your Alex's point, that we can kind of mess up here a couple little times and then we can figure it out from there. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I mean, the better team that runs the ball is going to win that game because they control the clock, they control the momentum, they just control everything. Florida State out of the get-go, rushing that many times and getting that much open field was just shocking. Like no adjustments were ever made on defense that I could see.
Yep.
Just watching defense, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, why is there no adjustments? Why are we not stacking the box so that we can get more pressure on that offensive line so that it forces them to run more, not north and south, but more east and west to get more coverage on that outside and force them to move the ball by throwing it. Like you have a transferring quarterback that came from, I'm pretty sure he came from New Mexico or one of those smaller end schools. And you now made him look like he just has been there for years running that offense. And as Daniel said, like all these guys that come from the West Coast and like were in the NFL and everything, I'm sorry, NFL playbooks do not work in college football. They do not. Like you cannot have an air raid attack in college football. One, it's too complex and you can't make these playbooks as difficult as you can. Like that's why you get NFL players that come on that are rookies that are on the NFL and they're like, how is the transition to the playbook? Oh, well, it's similar, but the lingo is very different. Like the complexity of the playbook is very different. And you just can't have that. So like the crazy thing is like Alabama has struggled on the road. I want you guys to be aware of this. They are now 2-5 on away games under DeBoer. 2-5. That is not an Alabama football team that I'm used to seeing. Where this is a team that used to go in, dominate games, no matter where they were. And it just, it looked bad. It really did. And I'm sitting on this side as like, not a Florida State fan, not an Alabama fan, calling it what it is. But Alabama is in a hard place right now. I'm very concerned with them moving forward. Now, the next game they have LA Monroe. They should wipe the floor with them. Then they have a Wisconsin team coming in where you don't know what Wisconsin can do. Like I've seen some bad Wisconsin teams go into places and just play unbelievable football. And then they have a big game against Georgia at Georgia.
Can I just say this though? DeBoer has 4 unranked losses in 2 years. To put that in perspective, Saban only had 4 in 17 years at Alabama.
That's wild.
That's insanity. So in 2 years, you have already lost to 4 unranked teams, and it took Saban 17 years to get that.
God. Well, that's a reason why, I mean, Saban's regarded as one of the best college coaches of all time. If not the best. But he built his coaching staff around his mentality, right? Yeah.
And what is our goal? What's our aim? Not just, can you coach, whatever. Like Alabama's defensive coordinator was the head coach at South Alabama. Like, what does that bring? What pedigree, what mentality, what skills are you actually going to bring to the table? You're a head coach at a very small school that doesn't have a great program. Great, you have some leadership skills, but what do you know? Right? Because you're at an elite, you're at the elite side. You have to be able to push these guys to be elite. You can't just be a great locker room presence or, have a fundamental idea of how defense works. I could fumble my way through making a playbook, but that doesn't mean I can lead somebody to be an elite team. That's just not how that works. So I think DeBoer did a bad job of picking his staff. I would have never brought Grubb as my offensive coordinator if I'm trying to build a Southeast football team. Like that's just not how that works. And I certainly am not going to go out and grab somebody that nobody has ever heard of or even knows to be a defensive coordinator if he has 0 stats or anything to prove, no resume that shows that he could be a great defensive coordinator. Like you need to go find people that have been in the Southeast, that know how all this works, that know how to work with these high caliber players. Because South Alabama's not getting 5 stars, guys. That's not how that works.
Yeah, I mean, with the way the transfer portal is right now, it's you literally you could have a quarterback that's played in 3 different systems in 4 years, and you are now trying as a coach to go into this going, well, shit, now I don't know what my team makeup's going to be like. I need some prowess in my head coaches or in my defensive coordinator or my offensive coordinator that's going to have that understanding that every year is going to be a very different format of what we put on the field.
Right.
And I think what DeBoer's doing is he's like, oh, we're Alabama. We can do the same thing year in, year out and get the same outcomes that we've always had under like Nick Saban. Well, I'm sorry, your recruiting's down. Your transfers are down. Not a lot of people are coming to Alabama anymore. They're going to Georgia's. They're going to Florida's. They're going to Tennessee's. They're going to even Missouri. Like I talked about it. South Carolina. I mean, they're going to all these other SEC schools because I think they're starting to realize like maybe Alabama is not what they used to be anymore. And teams are now starting to catch up.
You can go to Bama and get your NIL money, but you're not going to get the exposure. You're not going to get great. You're not going to get that great opportunity to really
like it was under Nick Saban.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that great NFL opportunity that you really hope for because, hey, all you got is, I don't know. I won't say a completely lackluster coaching staff. Maybe they can turn it around, but it's definitely not what it should be. Definitely not what it has been.
Right.
But, the NIL is a whole nother topic. We could really get into that. I think
I'm pretty sure we've already gotten the weeds of how just shitty the NIL is. And they just need to cap it at some point for certain positions. And we've gone over this time and time again. Like it's ridiculous and it's crazy. And I'm going to bring this last point up about the NIL. I hope people understand this, that people that sign NIL deals, like the Michigan quarterback that is 18 years old that signs a $10 million deal, he may fall in the draft. Like, look at Shedeur Sanders. Look how much NIL money he made. And look where he fell. And he's not even making the money in the NFL that he made as an NIL and NCAA.
Third string quarterback.
Third string quarterback. So he made millions of dollars in NIL money.
Yeah.
And he's not even going to touch that in the NFL. Like, that blows my mind.
The NIL is such a huge component of that. But then just talking about him in general, hell, look at his brother.
Yeah.
Look at the culture that they came from.
Yeah.
Okay. We're talking about a couple guys that spent the entirety of their college career. Yeah, they had some great games, whatever. Okay. Fine. Played against some lackluster teams. But if we want to look at paper, okay, great. We look on paper, they had great numbers. But their mentality is shit.
Yeah.
It was all about them. It was all about, the showmanship and let's look good and we're going to talk crap and everything's going to be a big performance and a big exhibition and event. But that doesn't translate to years down the line.
Yeah.
Like, great. Have fun. Enjoy your time there. But put in the work and actually show out and develop. Learn what you need to do.
Yep.
Had those boys not gone to Colorado and actually gone somewhere else, and played for anybody else and actually had some actual development, learn some responsibility, learn how to actually focus up, they would have had a better opportunity moving forward. But that's just my 2 cents. That'll piss off everybody out there. Coach Prime is not a fucking coach, okay? He is a joke. He is a clown. From my school, that's fucking great. There's a reason why we didn't fucking want him. He was a horrible culture piece to us. We wanted to have culture that was going to be developing good athletes, good student athletes, guys that were going to be focused up and able to get out of the field and, take responsibility. And he wasn't about that. Yep. Plain and simple. It's just all about him. It's all about a show. And he does that with all the players.
Yeah.
But hey, Colorado got a 13-12 record was worthy of retiring Shedeur's number. So, I mean,
I know.
Just look at that. So,
so bad, man.
Some of these decisions that some of these these colleges make are just laughable. That one is the main one. You're retiring a number for a quarterback that didn't do anything. Didn't do anything. And yep, he's a third string quarterback, and he was supposed to go round 1 and went round 4. So yep, but we're gonna retire his number.
They lost to freaking.
They're acting like he's Tom Brady. that like from Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's the craziest thing. Like Tom Brady deserves to have his number retired, deserves to have statues, deserves to be retired at Michigan. Like all these other accolades that it comes with. And he was drafted round 7, and we bring this up all the time.
And they're all like it was a travesty. Prime was out there running his mouth about how it should never have been that way and blah blah blah. But I'm sorry, teams look at how you perform. Okay, the NFL, if they don't feel like you're going to be worth a damn to them, or you're going to be a problem, they may draft you to have just some little bit of capital that they can put you out there on the draft block, or the trade block if they really really want to play that game. But more 9 times out of 10, you're not going to sit there high. You're going to ride it out. You're going to fall and fall and fall, and it's just. I was shocked that Caleb Williams even got drafted. Let's be honest.
I was going to say, clearly the NFL is not listed to that because
the Bears were listening. Okay,
so
the Bears were, but most other teams they're not going to want to go after that. It's just a cancer in the locker room.
It is, and so all right, we're going to move over to the Texas-Ohio State game. Massive Week 1 matchup. 1 versus 3. All the hype came on the Texas side. Arch Manning, what is Ohio State product going to be? I knew their defense was going to be really stellar, really good. Same with Texas. Like 11 of their 22 starters were like 5-star recruits. So like, okay. Texas is no doubt probably the best team in college football. Let's pump the brakes now. Let's pump them.
Not now.
The hype train for Arch Manning has definitely hit the brakes. He did not look good. He is the preseason Heisman favorite. All right. He had a rough day. He is the preseason Heisman favorite. Had a rough day. And 100% now was.
It's not happening now.
He was 17 for 30, had a passing touchdown and a very costly interception. It was a far cry from a spectacular performance that many were expecting, myself included. I thought that guy was going to have enough time on the field from last year, a whole offseason, a whole spring, to go in there and just control the game the way he wanted to control it. The most glaring issue that I saw was their inability to convert on 4th downs. They were 1 for 5, including 2, not 1, 2 crucial red zone stops. Like Arch got stuffed at the red zone.
I was going to say, let's talk about that, right? We have determined, guys, like this is breaking news to everybody out there listening to this. I want everybody to lean in and listen, okay? Because this is going to surprise everybody. Arch Manning is not Jalen Hurts. He can't do the tush push, guys. Just let you know, his head snaps back. He gets crumpled like a pretzel. Just telling you guys, that little string bean little guy is not going to push an entire front line and defense. It's just not happening. So everybody out there that were thinking that he was going to be able to do that, not happening.
I mean, also, they released footage of Arch Manning in high school, and it looked like the competition that he was going up against was not that great.
Not that great.
I'm sure the Mannings paid for it, okay? Those are exhibition games.
Can we talk about his mechanics? That's all the stuff I've seen on Twitter. Him throwing off his back foot every single pass. People were putting him, and right next to him was Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite, and saying he looks like Uncle Rico throwing off his back foot. Throw into the ball. Throw into your throw.
Yeah.
You've got
just push it. He's just pushing
two uncles that are going to the Hall of Fame. One's in the Hall of Fame and one of the greatest of all time. The other one's won 2 Super Bowls, probably going to Canton as well. Dude, watch film on them. Like, throw into the ball. Like, throw into your throw. So it just, watching the mechanics from the other day from him, it's like, Arch, dude, come on. Like, that was the most glaring issue for me from his play.
Just because you have the name doesn't mean you have the talent. Like, let's put that. Just because you have the Manning name doesn't mean you have the talent.
He's got a lot of pressure. So
he does.
I mean,
like, but here's the thing. Like, either you're going to bend to pressure or you're going to break to it. Like, if you bend the pressure, that means you can overcome it. If you're going to break from the pressure, then that means that you are not in the right place at the right time. Like, you need. I highly doubt
that the Sarkisian staff down there is coaching him to throw that way. Let's just be real. What I feel though, and fear, because this is like he's
maybe his
played
first game
some,
jitters.
right?
Maybe
He's
he had
played
first game
some.
jitters.
He's had
like,
some games. He's had some exposure, right? He's had some field experience in the last couple of years. But yeah, it's your first game, and you're playing the number 3 team in the country, the
and probably one of
champions,
the worst places to play.
Champions,
like Ohio State Stadium, if you've ever been,
stacked.
is insane.
Like they didn't like. Ohio State is stacked. It's not like you were going into this like, oh, this will be fairly easy. No, I feel like his mechanics reverted because of the pressure and everything. And I feel like his uncles need to take him out back and beat him with a rubber hose for letting that break him. Because let's be real, you can't do that. You cannot let it get to you that way. You have to shake it off. You have to find your happy place, like whatever it takes for you to settle yourself down and just tune it out. And I need to do this. I take 3 steps back. I step forward. I throw the ball. Like that's whatever you have to do to make sure that you're getting the simple things down and go back to your basics and be able to perform. I mean, he ran for 38 yards, but all 38 of those yards with him running for his life. Like, way too much pressure. I think more than anything, I know the kid's got talent. You can see it. But he definitely
does it translate
down.
in the biggest moments? Like that's the thing. Like you could have
Clearly
all the talent in the world.
This was a national championship game. Literally, this was like having a national championship game to start the season with the 2 powerhouses, quote unquote, that are there, and it definitely did not look like that on the field.
It really didn't for Texas. I mean, Ohio State, I already knew they had an elite defense. Matt Patricia's Masterclass. He's always been a defensive mastermind. Let's be honest with this. It just looked like Arch was just in La La Land, like he was just lost. And again, I revert back to just because you have the last name doesn't mean you have the talent. Okay, like every Peyton Manning and Eli Manning are very different from Arch Manning, and if you have to be your own quarterback. You have to find your own way. You have to watch guys that your game resembles. Remember, Peyton Manning and Eli Manning played at a time of NFL football where it was very different. And we're talking just 10 years ago where Peyton Manning was still playing football, all right, in 2015. Football today in the NFL and even in college is very different than what it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, there were still teams that knew they were going to go into that game and just grind it out on the ground. And that was it. It's realistically a very different type of football that I thought Arch Manning was going to go in and just be able to control the game the way that I saw him play last year. And clearly it did not look that way. Ohio State's defense shut the door on a very good Texas offense. Now, you can revert that and say the same thing about Texas' defense. They held Jeremiah Smith, which is probably the best wide receiver in football, to a very lackluster game. So I don't know. Like, it's very alarming. But again, that defense for Ohio State looks dominant again this year. And it like they disguised coverages all day. They brought pressure from all angles, and they just made Texas offense look very out of sync. Ohio State's defense, game-winning plays after game-winning plays after game-winning plays, had interceptions, like able to get multiple 4th down stops, proved that they probably are the best defense in college football right now. And being in the Big Ten, you got to have a really good defense to stop running, because Big Ten football is all about running the football, right? That's all normally what it is. It's ground and pound. So, like they had star power last year, and I'm pretty sure they're going to have it again this year. So, where do you guys feel that Texas needs to do now moving forward? Obviously, they are in the SEC too. All right, let's remember that. They are in the SEC, and we say the SEC like it's this powerhouse program, and normally it is, because if you look back national championships, I'm pretty sure SEC school has been represented in a big chunk of them. So where do we feel Texas needs to go from here? Because they have a pretty hard schedule this year, or pretty
Well,
lackluster schedule.
I was going to say, you say hard. I mean, they have San Jose State, UTEP, and then Sam Houston. So, like,
Whoops.
3 straight, like, can they get their shit straight games? That's really what that comes down to. Can they? I mean, there's a lot. Yeah, to your point, there's a lot to learn from it. There's a lot to iron out, though. And they need to take the time to go back in. They have 3 games and all the practices in between all of those to take every aspect of this past Saturday's game, break it apart, and all right, we're focusing on this. We're going to fix this and get this ironed out. Game to prove it. All right, we're fixing all of this stuff out. Game to prove it, to get themselves on track before they go and play Florida on October 4th. But that's their next challenge. But they have all of that to go through and get all of that sorted out, figured out over 3 weeks. That's more than enough time, I think. That's more than enough opportunities to get some cupcakes to go through and just beat the crap out of them. Get your mechanics in play. Make sure your playbook is tight where you want it. Make your adjustments that you need before you grind out the rest of your schedule, which is tough to a point. I mean, they got Florida and Oklahoma, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt. They go through. They don't play Georgia until November. Yeah, they play Georgia November 15th. They end out the year with Arkansas and Texas A&M. So there's some implications in there that it could be difficult, you know?
I mean, even that Oklahoma game, like Oklahoma is not technically supposed to have the best team this year, but Oklahoma plays Texas really strong, really hard every year. So
we've seen Kentucky show up and do well in some of these games in the SEC. Vanderbilt even has a chance to in Arkansas. I mean, you can't sleep on any of those games, any of those teams.
Yeah.
You have got to get your stuff together and ready to go for the rest of the year. So that's my point. I think that they take the next 3 weeks and you can't fix it all in one week's practice. I think they need to take one huge chunk, whether it's how are we passing the ball and getting those things sorted out and fix, get working on his confidence and making sure that he stays on track. And then let's put that to the point this week. We know our defense is good.
Mm-hmm. Now it's time to build up on Arch's confidence. So I'm sure that's what Sark's telling him again with these cupcake games coming up. It's like, dude, it's all right. We're not going to be playing Ohio State the next 3 weeks. Like it's like figure out what you have right now. Go from there. We know you're young. This is your first year as a starter. Just just build around him a little bit. Build up that confidence. So
I mean, I will say this game did show that both teams do have work to do, both on the offensive side of the ball. Ohio State's defense is already operating at a very elite level, which I think will continue throughout the year. Pressure is really now on Arch Manning to shake off whatever performance he put out there and realistically live up to the hype that he really has going for him right now. I know Julian Sayin is also a first-year starter at Ohio State. He didn't have a bad game. He didn't have a great game, but he looked poised in situations where he needed to be. He didn't panic, it looked like. It looked like he was better prepared. So it's like whenever you go into these big games, normally the team that is better prepared and better ready to take the task on then the other team normally wins that game, right? We only have a few times where fluke things happen where you're like, oh, we were prepared. They looked like a better team and they didn't win. Like I correlate that to like NFL almost. Like normally you don't really see that at a college level. But it does show a lot that these two teams are gonna have to show something different for the rest of the year to kind of get back to that almost national title defending. I think they have a big, strong push for the college football playoffs because if Texas continues to put that product on the field, I think it's going to be a very long season for the Longhorns.
And also for like Ohio State, I mean, you mentioned Jeremiah Smith earlier. He dealt with some very uncharacteristic drops in that game. So I don't know if it was first game jitters or what, but he needs to get it together if you're the face of college football at the wide receiver position. And I'm sure he will. I just think, early on in that game, he just had some really bad drops.
Yeah. Yep. And again, it's first week one. I'm sure a lot of this gets cleaned up. It's like even in the NFL, like you're normally your defense is a little bit more ahead of your offense just because, again, new key pieces that come in. Defenses normally are a tad bit ahead at the beginning of the season. So we'll see. And that really is predicated to NCAA is like your defense is definitely going to be ahead of your offense because you're rotating offensive pieces every year. You have a new quarterback, maybe new offensive line, new running back. So again, style of offenses change year to year. So your defense normally is going to be ahead. So it's not shocking to see a lot of these teams like whenever you have like Clemson, LSU, Ohio State, Texas, or even some of these other games that were really close because it was a defensive battle. Doesn't mean that their offenses aren't good, just means that they might be on the back foot a little bit and they still need to work through some things. So, but Brett, you were up in Minnesota this past week, right? Covering Northwest's first game. I want to talk about
Yeah.
this because Northwest, from being around, and again, as some of you don't know, Northwest Missouri State is a Division II school that used to just run over a lot of people. They have won multitude of national championships. They used to be the top D2 school to go to in the country for football. So I would love to hear your take because I know you went up there covering. I know they had a rookie or a redshirt freshman quarterback going. Um, what did you take away from the game? I know they struggled quite a
Yeah.
bit. But what did you find through that going through
Well,
that?
I mean, earlier on in the game, let's just say they dealt with some adversity right from the get-go. It wasn't supposed to rain, but a giant rain cloud came over the stadium and just monsoon rain the
Oh
entire
boy.
first quarter and into the second quarter, and it was bad. And I think just that the team struggled from that regard, and they went into the game, and Chris Runke, who was their starter last year, got the start in this game. He's a senior out of Platte County, and he did not play well. He finished 6 of 16 through the air with 41 yards and an interception. So early on, they went back and forth between him and Zach Owens, the redshirt freshman, who played a lot better. But then Owens in the second half just played the entire second half, and Owens played better. 10 of 12, 160 yards passing, 1 touchdown, added a rushing touchdown as well. But they just too many red zone turnovers.
Yeah.
And they were 3 different drives where they looked like they were driving to score. You had Runke's interception in the first half, and that totally changed the tide. And Minnesota State scored a couple plays later. In the second half, Northwest is driving down the field, and their running back Tayshawn Porter, their starting running back this year, underclassman, who dealt with fumbling issues last year, fumbled in the second half, and then Minnesota State recovers, marches right down the field and scores. So they've got a lot of holes to figure out, some new faces and new places. They get a brand new head coach this year, John McMenamin, former Northwest quarterback, was on 2 of those state national championship teams back in the day when he was a backup quarterback there. So it's it's a new system for him. He's trying to figure things out. There's still some good guys on defense that they've had. Shane Fredrickson's been a safety there, a really big senior there for them, a voice in the locker room the last couple of years. Carter Edwards is one of the better linebackers, rather, in the MIAA. He's been on the linebacker watch list in D2, but he's been dealing with some injuries as well. So yeah, they just need to figure things out because now, I mean, 2 years in a row, the last 2 years, Northwest has not made the playoffs, and which is just unheard of because they made the playoffs almost 20 years in a row at that school. And I mean, in years past, they finished with winning records, so the winning record streak is still intact. I think they've had a winning record like 30 straight years or something like that. It's something crazy.
Yeah.
But Northwest, I mean, again, they've come out with the attitude of, well, we don't go to bowl games, we go to the playoffs. It's playoffs or
Right.
bust. So
Yeah.
they opt out of bowl games when they finish 7-4, when they finish 6-5, which like they have the last 2 years. That's what they've done. So they need to figure things out and fast. Now Minnesota State was a tough draw week 1. I mean, they're the 11th ranked overall team in D2 this year. So, and that's the second year in a row that they have lost to Minnesota State to start off the year. So that They have a better opportunity this week. They're playing at Washburn and Topeka. Washburn was picked to finish near the bottom of the MIAA. So it's a get-right game for Northwest. But again, the MIAA's got some tough teams in it this year. You got Pittsburgh State. You've got Central Oklahoma was really good last year. Central Missouri is going to be really good this year as well. So and all those guys are on the schedule. So Northwest, they need to figure it out fast. And I think they will. McMenamin, we talked to him after the game. And he goes, I was worried about the physicality of this game to get go. And he goes, we got ourselves in a hole and we just could not respond. So I know that they'll look at the film and they'll recover from this. But again, it's not the Rich Wright team of the past. It's defensive oriented. I mean, John McMenamin's an offensive guy. He played quarterback. So they're going to be more of an offensive team. And they'll still play tough defense, but it's not going to be the same scheme as what it has been in Northwest, the Bearcats fans past. So we'll have to see how they turn it around against Washburn this week, but not a good showing early on against a really tough Minnesota State team.
I got clips and bits and pieces of that, man. It just looked like the Bearcats defense just really struggled. I mean, I think Minnesota ran for like 269 yards on like 51 carries. They controlled the game completely. They just looked balanced, efficient, and they showed that they should be the 11th ranked team in D2. So it's just, it's crazy. And I bring this up because it's like some of these D2 teams that play, I would almost bet they probably could compete with a lot of these FCS schools and FBS schools that put out product on the field. I look at that like New Mexico game. Like New Mexico looked awful, late night on Saturday. Even Cal just embarrassed UCLA. Embarrassed them.
Let's say though, New Mexico still put up 17 points on number 14 Michigan, and held them to 34 points. So let's just call spade a spade here. Is Michigan struggling?
Michigan has a freshman quarterback.
Where are we at? So I mean, so where are we at with that? I mean, they still held the number 14 team in the FBS to 34 points when it should have been a 55, 60 point game. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
And still managed to put up 17 points on that Michigan defense. So that's all I got to say on that one. But that one was kind of like are you kidding me type game. So.
Yeah, but like I look at some of these because like Northwest Missouri State used to just be this dominant team. And I used to just constantly hear about Northwest and everything. And I would always intrigue me and be like, man, what about if Northwest like pulled an FCS school? Like just won and just went up there and just beat the living crap out of them. And then the next year they pulled like a FBS school. Like I'm not talking a big school. I mean, look at Army did. Army lost. All right, to Thornton State or whatever their name is. Like I don't even know who that school is. And Army lost. Understandably, it is Army. I get it. But that is still a big D1 school. Okay. So like the Bearcats back in the day, like when I was going through college and everything, they were the cream of the crop in D2. Like even in baseball, they were just really good. Now, not as good as Central Missouri in baseball, but in football, they used to control everything. Like constantly going to national championships, constantly winning their division, constantly just embarrassing anybody that they ever faced. But whenever you have 2 costly turnovers of 2 fumbles, an interception, and then the worst was a 66-yard kickoff return that would have given Northwest really good field position, and then they fumble it. So it just like it's momentum killing. And so it's like, we go back to the whole coaching situation. Like people don't want to say coaches hold a high enough value. Well, you got to realize your coaches are what set the tone for your team. And that's how I feel like the product that you get on the field is predicated to what coaching you're getting. And if you look at the whole Alabama-Florida State game, that coaching was awful. Awful. And I think they need to take more blame than the players did because they did not have them ready. They did not have them poised to go into a hostile environment and overcome whatever that environment was going to bring. And it just made it look like an underperforming team, very badly coached. And you may have the best product in football. You may have the best name in football. You may have the best quarterback in football. But if your coaching staff fails, your team fails. Hands down.
That environment is tough. I mean, there's a reason why Nick Saban refused to go to Tallahassee. We had to play them in Jacksonville or wherever. We always had to have some sort of a neutral location to play Alabama. He refused to have a home game in Tallahassee, so therefore we refused to go to Tuscaloosa for them because he knew it was a tough environment. It was not a place that you just want to roll into.
Yeah, I've never been to a Florida State game, but I will tell you that environment was pretty awesome to watch on TV. Now, the other environment that I loved watching was LSU Clemson. I don't know how much you guys stayed up for that game, but I watched the whole entire thing from start to finish. And that game that was my game of the week, was LSU Clemson. I was more excited about that game over Texas Ohio State and over Florida State Alabama. I was more excited for LSU because LSU has had this adage, and as I said, I have not watched that SEC show on Netflix, but I knew instantly on that trailer what they were talking about without even having to watch the show. He was like, here we are again talking about the same thing. Why we cannot win week 1 as a favorite. Well, going back to last year, they got embarrassed by USC week 1. And USC did not look great. And this was a year after Caleb Williams. Okay. So I was more hyped to go into this LSU Clemson game, not only because it was in Clemson, and that's probably one of the most electric atmospheres in college football outside of a couple other schools. Like the story, the background, like Death Valley, like I'm like, they're not even in Death Valley. And then I realized like the person that brought it over was like from Death Valley and all in California. So they call it Death Valley, which was pretty cool. And I'm pretty sure that rock or whatever it like came from Death Valley that they touch on the way in. So LSU's Nussmeier. Is that Nussmeier's son? Is that the commentator Nussmeier's son? Do you guys know that? If that is, or like,
it is or not,
or like grandson or something like that. I would be interested to see that. Dan, can you look that up and see if that's Nussmeier's son or grandson? Because I haven't heard a lot of Nussmeiers before. But clearly, he was the biggest difference maker in this game. He got better as the game went on, especially in the second half. I mean, he threw for 230 yards, a game-winning touchdown, and just his fourth quarter performance was just unbelievable. Composure, ability, and again, it should be. He's a second-year starter. He needed to fix a few things. Last year, he was not great under pressure. He was not great running the ball, and he was not great throwing the ball in traffic. Like, he threw a lot of interceptions last year, so he had a lot of things to clean up. And it looks like he has spent some time in the offseason to clean this up. Now, Clemson, they had a tough day. Cade did not look great. 19 for 38, 230 yards and an interception. Not the start I think he wanted to have, especially as a dynamic player as he is. LSU defense just forced him to make too many tough throws, couldn't connect with receivers on a consistent basis. Lack of a running game put him entirely on the backseat. Like, wasn't able to really deliver anything in the final moments. Yes, they did move the ball down the field, but just stalled out. Like, you just can't have that happen. Again, here we are talking about another SEC school. Okay, another SEC school with really good defense. So if people aren't understanding what we're saying, defense wins championships. And right now, from what I'm seeing outside of the SEC, There's not a lot of schools outside of Ohio State and Florida State where I can actually say their defenses look good enough to stop an SEC school. So, with that being said, what are your guys' key takeaways from Saturday night's game?
Well, I'll just say real quick. He's the son of Doug Nussmeier or whatever, who is the offensive coordinator of the Saints.
Oh, okay.
He was also one of the coordinators under Saban back in the day. He's worked with Florida and Michigan. And,
okay.
He was our QB coach last year at Philly.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's where I heard him from before. Yeah. So he went to LSU as the OC, right? Or
no,
not the
he
OC.
Went to the Saints.
Saints.
He went with Kellen Moore to
for the OC. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. I mean, Kellen Moore is going to pick people off, that he wants to take.
That
it
did well.
Every year.
That actually helped him succeed as an offensive coordinator.
Yeah. I mean, again, there we go. We're talking about coaching. Like hands
coaching
down.
Matters.
Coaching matters. Like coaching really does. So.
But you were asking about Clemson LSU, and I mean, it almost could have been the final score should have been even worse because LSU had a touchdown taken away from him that clearly was a touchdown that they said he bobbled the ball right at the end of it, and they were going, really? Because that certainly looked like a touchdown there. And I kept hearing all offseason, this is the year for Clemson. Finally, this is the year Clemson has to get out of this rut that they've been in the last couple of years, to get back to the old Clemson of the dominant days. And they just, I mean, they didn't make the plays when it mattered against LSU, and LSU just went into their house and just played better. And I mean, they just, I need to see more from Clemson kind of going forward. They didn't play. They didn't make the plays when it mattered in that game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a defensive masterclass by LSU. Let's just put it as it is. They shut down Clemson's offense like all night. 31 rushing yards on 20 carries. Like that's pretty bad, especially from a Dabo Sweeney squad. The unit just retooled with new personnel, and their performance and testament to their coaching ability and play more man-to-man defense and bring pressure on the LSU side was just unbelievable. Like they rehauled that team like completely, kind of like Florida State did. They kind of went back to the drawing board and were like, all right, obviously the product that we put out last year was hit and miss. Like we can't continue to do this. We got to figure this out. Let's get some guys in from the transfer portal. Let's bring in some guys. Like LSU is always going to attract big names, right? Like the LSU is I would say a Power 5 school, right? Like you got your Power 5 schools, and I'm not going to put Florida State in there because again, they've been out for a little bit, but I'm talking your Michigan's, Ohio State's, your LSU's, Alabama's, maybe not anymore, but you also have like Florida's and all these other big schools that have had runs that are poised to make playoffs. But who knows? Like I like you would assume Clemson would be in there, and Clemson under Dabo Sweeney used to be a really tough team opponent to play. I mean, obviously, Daniel, you've been a big Florida State fan your whole entire life, and you've played Clemson, and you've had to go through years where it's playing Clemson and Clemson,
Deshaun Watson,
and playing Deshaun Watson and Lawrence and Trevor Lawrence and all these other guys. Yeah. So like
even back to the Taj Boyd days, when they had Taj Boyd, they were really good. So
yeah, I mean, but like Harold Perkins from LSU is a game wrecker. That dude is probably one of the best linebackers, I would say, in college football. That dude was all over the place. Like he had, I think, a sack, like 5 or 6 tackles, and like 2 quarterback hurries. And he's just consistently, his motor was just constantly at 1,000. Like it was unbelievable to see him like all over. And then he made the final stop, the game-winning tackle pretty much. It's definitely alarming to see Clemson play that way after the year they had last year. Again, I didn't think Clemson deserved to be in the college football playoff last year. I think that they could have made some better decisions to put teams in. Not saying because, obviously winning the ACC, obviously amounts you in, but I didn't think that they had a good enough product to actually make it to the championship, and it kind of showed. So this year, again, going into it, I was like, okay, well, maybe Clemson got a taste of that college football playoffs again and was like, all right, now let's really ramp this up. And then you draw LSU, a team that has lost consecutive years on opening years. Yeah, you ain't winning that game. I'm going to tell you that right now. LSU from 2019 till now has not looked great. And they've had the product to be great, and they just haven't done it. So it's going to be interesting to see how Clemson responds, just much like Alabama, right? Like, you're in the ACC. Yes, you don't have the SEC schedule, but you are still in the ACC, and you are still going to play some tough teams, especially whenever you see what Florida State did on Saturday. If you go in there and play like that against LSU, you're going to get embarrassed bad. Even playing possibly Georgia Tech. Like, let's go out to that say. So it's,
hey, Georgia Tech beat Colorado. Okay,
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Good.
Like,
in Boulder. So,
did you see Colorado's coaching staff too? Like, how many ex-NFL players they have? Like
Warren Sapp. I mean, a bunch of those guys.
Yeah. Now this is my question. So, like, and I'm really interested to hear kind of what you guys have to say about this. So, like, you take coaches that played in the NFL, right? And then they retire, and then they go into some form of coaching, right? Some of them do. Do you think the knowledge that you gain in the NFL, and also, again, playing maybe in a top division, D1 school, do you think your knowledge can still translate, or do you think it's a coaching mentality? Like, some people are born to be coaches and good football players, and some are born to be good football players and just really bad coaches just because they can't teach, they can't show things, or they don't have a way of like pushing out what their knowledge is. Like, I, for myself, would be like, all right, if I was going to go be a baseball coach, I would probably not be a very good baseball coach. One, I'm very competitive and I would have very high expectations. And two, the way that I did things may not always work for people. And you have to find different ways to teach them, right? Me, I could teach in a certain way, but it may not resonate with other people, other players. So, do you think being in the NFL gives you the right to coach just because you've been there, done that, made millions of dollars, maybe a Hall of Fame, blah, blah, blah? Like, would you take Peyton Manning and go, hey, you're going to be a head coach? And
well,
I would be interested to see that.
There's a lot that goes into it. You have to have the knowledge, and you have to be good at talking to people and good at coaching people. And I mean, a good example, I'm looking at their coaching staff here. Marshall Faulk was awesome when he was with the Rams. He was so smart. He knew the defense before it even lined up, and you could hear him talking to Kurt Warner about, all right, this is what we're going to do. This is where we're going to go. He knew where everybody else needed to be on the field, not just himself. Yeah. So him, I mean, I think that's a good choice for him to coach. Because I remember when Steve Sable of NFL Films was still alive, and he interviewed Marshall, and he asked him, he goes, would you ever coach? And he goes, yeah, maybe it would have to probably be the right situation. He goes, but I at that point, he's like, I don't know if I could coach, but I think he's a great coach. But then you got guys like Warren Sapp, and it's like, well, really, Warren Sapp? I don't know if he would be the best coach because he was a great player, but could he speak to guys? But I just think you have to have the right mentality. That doesn't give you the right just because, I mean, you played in the NFL and like you were good, but you gotta be able to translate that over to just connecting to people, connecting to your players, relating to players that are younger than you. And and I think that has a lot to do with it. So
I would say, yeah, it's agreed with everybody. It's the conversation piece. Can you communicate properly? You have to be able to relate to everybody on a different level because everybody learns at a different pace. They all learn a different way. They all require a different way to learn different things. And not all players are built that way. They're ingrained in their head to not question, to just do. You spend all your time learning, this is how you do this. You have to get better at this, do this. You need to learn these plays. You need to know how to do this. So it's a constant, like, just getting dumped on them and not translating that to somebody else. So yeah, not everybody's going to be ingrained in that, but I think the other part of that, and I'm always going to go back to this, is the mentality as well, because ego gets in the way, especially if you're a high end, like really well known player. Your ego is always going to be getting in the way. You can't get away from it. These kids are going to come in. They're like, oh man, my dad always talked about you, and I've watched your highlight. And there's always going to be some sort of that hype to it that's going to kind of cloud the way that you are. So I feel like having a staff like that, where it's all about, hey, you get all these great coaches or players in that are now coaching. I think you run into a lot of those issues. Could Peyton teach? That dude spent so much time in the film room learning anything and everything about every team out there. I feel like he could translate that over.
Yeah.
But it's going to be very much on how Peyton is, not so much how does every other quarterback need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
not everybody has
know
the
about
mindset that Peyton had. Not everybody thinks like that. So,
yeah, exactly.
And that's hard to.
Like,
hard
but
to
is that
translate
something you could teach though? Is that something that's just embedded in you? Like you just like let's make this kind of as simple as possible. Like we all agree that there is people that have just raw talent, and you can stretch this across football and baseball. Like baseball, I'm thinking of like Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, like just raw Bobby Witt Jr., just Aaron Judge, just raw talent that realistically you can't really coach. Like it's just already there. Like it's just something in them that they understand the game differently. They understand sequences differently. They understand pitch counts differently. They understand hitting the ball differently. Like it's just something that you notice even in football. Like you look at guys like I'm talking Brian Dawkins. I'm talking the Bus. I'm talking TJ Watt, JJ Watt. I'm talking like it's just these guys that come out and again there's hundreds of them that are in football, but it's like, could Peyton Manning teach what he knew and how he read defenses, and could he teach it in a way where somebody could immediately, I would say almost like mimic him? Like that's what I struggle to understand, is like you are looking for a certain product, right, to put on a field. Like let's just take for instance a quarterback. And for years, when Patrick Mahomes came out, everybody was like, oh, well, I would love to have a Patrick Mahomes type quarterback. Well, do you want his talent or do you want his work ethic and like understanding of the game? Like, what are you meaning? Because Patrick Mahomes is very different from a lot of quarterbacks because he does things very unorthodox. He does very things that you're not supposed to do as a quarterback, but yet somehow it works. And he has always predicated it to like, well, I was a baseball player. I was used to throwing on the run. I was used to doing all these other different things. Well, you're not the only quarterback that didn't play baseball, right? So it's like
Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray.
Exactly. So
I don't see them doing that so much.
Right.
Well,
so it's like pure talent, right?
Yeah. And I also think of like with Peyton, it's work hard, play hard, study every day, break down the defense entirely. I think a big reason why he did that, he saw his dad do that his entire life. I mean, Archie was playing when he was growing up, and he saw his dad film study. And he just thought, you know what? I'm just going to do what my dad did, and that's going to make me a great player too. Not a lot of players. There's a lot of players out there that didn't have their fathers or brothers or cousins or older siblings play in the NFL or college football. They didn't see that. So that might be a little bit harder to translate if like you're Peyton Manning and you're trying to coach like other players up. But I mean, there are kids out there that have that mentality and mindset that you can teach. But again, I just think that's where Peyton got it from, is because he saw Archie doing that when he was a quarterback at the Saints back in the 70s and 80s. And he wanted to emulate his game out of that.
Yeah, I mean, look at Kyler Murray. Like Kyler Murray, there was a big story that came out a couple years ago, like based on his contract. I don't know if it was true or not, but like he had to put X amount of time into film study. Like he had to really put forth an effort into film study, because I would assume Kyler Murray coming out, like, did you guys know this in 2018 that he was a 9th round pick to the Oakland A's, and he said no. He said no to go back to play quarterback at Oklahoma. Do you realize how much money that dude would be making right now without playing college football? Like, it's insane.
At least twice as much.
So. 100, hands down. But But that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying Kyler Murray is a bad quarterback, and I'm not saying he's a great quarterback. Like your team, what you put around you on a product is a testament to what the team is. Like, you are not just the team. Your quarterback is not just the single person that makes that team go. But your talent has to translate in a way where you have to be able to go, all right, why is Patrick Mahomes so successful? Well, it's not because he was an understudied Alex Smith, but Alex Smith took him under his wing and was like, hey, I don't have to show you this, but I'm going to tell you, like, this is going to help you. Watching film, doing mental reps, just doing all the right things, becoming a good pro. And it really kind of shows a difference in how the game is realistically played to Patrick Mahomes versus Kyler Murray.
They took that clause out, though. It was in
did
there.
they? Okay.
But then, you know, once it was announced in the press and everything, of course, all the, shall we say, 10-ply people in this country started raising all sorts of hell about it because, you know, they said it was disrespectful, whatever. Took it the wrong way, raised a big stink, so the Cardinals took it away. But in reality, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like I mean, just look at the way sports has changed just across every league, okay? Not just in football. The mentality of players is not the way it was 15, 20, 30 years ago, where it was, right, you know, you bust your ass. You got to this point, you have to keep busting your ass. You can't do any better. Go look at Jordan. Everybody can say Jordan wasn't the greatest player of all time. The dude was a dog. And it was very evident in the way that they practiced. And the players knew that if they were going to be able to perform on that team and stay on that team, they had to get on that level. They had to practice. Yep. They had to put in the time. They had to know what they were doing. It's the way it used to be across the board. You know, even in college, like, you had to put in the time. You weren't going to get a free pass. You weren't going to just get to ride on your name or whatever. So you get to this point where there's so much noise. You get in the NFL that's all about, you know, this big hype. I'm an NFL player. You get all these parties, all these endorsements, all this stuff going on. There's a distraction, and kudos to the Cardinals for calling it out. I mean, they weren't necessarily trying to call him out, but they were trying to ensure that he had a set, uninterrupted amount of time, 4 hours a week, where he was doing independent study, where he wasn't doing anything else. Could be concurrent. He couldn't watch TV, could be doing anything else. Leave him alone. And he needed to have time to be able to do what he needed to do to prepare week in, week out. And I think that should be a good thing. I think that should be something that everybody should have in a contract of, like, hey, everything else aside, team practices and all the other things that are going on, I need time to sit down and reflect on my own game and on my own things and spend my own time getting ready and prepared the way that I need to. So I can have my head in the game for the next week.
Because you don't want to have a situation happen like with Jamarcus Russell, where he wasn't watching film, and then they gave him the blank tapes and said, all right, Jamarcus, go take this home and go watch it. And then he'd bring it back and go, oh, yeah, I watched it. Yeah, totally. And they were blank tapes that they gave him. So, I mean, they proved that he wasn't watching film. So I like that idea. I know you said they take it away, but I mean, some players need that. They need that. They need
that direction. So, even like you want to think like these NFL and these MLB players, and I say MLB players because it is true. They do scout pitches or pitchers. They do have reporting on what they like to throw in certain counts, where they like to set up, like certain things that they do. So as technology has gotten better, the scouting for people and the scouting for players, like they even do that for hitters, right? Like they scout, like, hey, he sits inside fastballs. Hey, he is going to chase anything outside. So it's like, we'll figure out how to set people up. So like, I'll go back to the Jordan thing. Like if you haven't watched The Last Dance, which I'm pretty sure 90% of America at this point has, if that doesn't show you how much work ethic Jordan had over like Dennis Rodman, who was just an absolute dog on a court. Like Dennis Rodman, probably hands down, is one of the best defensive players I've ever seen and watched.
And instinctive,
and just like that dude could go to Vegas, party for 72 hours, come back and have a game and be hungover and literally just dominate the whole entire game. And so, but you got guys that are their work ethic is so much higher because they knew what they sacrificed or what they had to sacrifice or everything that they did to get to the point that they're at. Like I remember watching a couple years ago or maybe a year ago when they released that Florida Gators 30 for 30 on like Tim Tebow and that national championship running team. Um, I didn't realize how many studs they had on that team and just the way football was even back then when Tebow was playing was like, man, it looked like it was like a military boot camp at that school. Like it looked rough, but it kind of set the tone and the tenacity for everybody that got drafted from that Florida team to go into the NFL with that mentality. Like I'm going to
Except for
work.
Tebow.
Well, I mean, Tebow, like he was very unorthodox.
He should have been a receiver. Okay?
Yeah, he should have been like
or
a tight end
or whatever.
a tight end or something.
Let's
like,
just be real.
Like he had a funky throwing motion, but hey, he did have that playoff win. Okay, you can't take that away from Tim Tebow. All right, I'm pretty sure what he beat. I don't even know who he beat, like Pittsburgh or something. But one last game I want to talk about before we jump over to NFL to wrap up the show. Missouri played Thursday night in Central Arkansas. Very lackluster, but the biggest takeaway was who was going to be the front runner. Was it going to be Sam Horn or was it going to be Bo? Bo was a transfer quarterback from Penn State. He had like 24 games under his belt, threw for like 424 yards and like 4 touchdowns. Who was going to get the nod? All right. So the issue is that I really feel bad for Sam Horn. I really do.
He's just got bad luck.
Just bad luck. First snap, 6-yard run, and just knee gone. Just gone. Dan and I were talking about this, about how like this is concerning going into the season, not knowing who your quarterback is, and then you come out at a press conference and you're very nonchalant. Yeah, both of them can play, you know, and we just really want to reevaluate them and see this. And I'm like, well, they're telling me one of two things. One, you don't trust them, and two, you don't trust the product that you're going to put out there. And then we got into this whole point, like the less reps you give somebody, the more harder it's going to be as the season goes on, because it's not going to be like week one, it just clicks. And then all of a sudden, like now, you know, he's on the same page with everybody, the running game, blah, 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 the offensive line. And if you watch that game, the offensive line struggled early because of, you know, different cadences from the quarterback. So I will say I'm very happy with how Bo played. Dude was phenomenal. 23-28, 283 yards and 2 touchdowns. Showed dual threat ability, could rush, could throw. He looked like a Big Ten quarterback coming over to an SEC school that I was very happy to see. I'm very happy with how that offense looked towards the second half of the game. Again, they struggled early. Their left tackle, I'm pretty sure was just like, Eli probably just had to go, hey, dude, just calm down. Like you're missing blocks, you're missing poles, you're missing things. Like it's not that complicated. Just calm down and let your knowledge and your experience work for you. And he settled back in. He settled in and he did great. Like 560 yards of total offense, 219 yards rushing, 341 passing. That is awesome. Now, again, take it with a grain of salt. It was Central Arkansas. Okay. It was at home. It was Central Arkansas. Please, let's not get that all hype about it. The big test is when they play Kansas here in a couple weeks. That's going to be the big test.
It's this week. It's this Saturday.
Is it this Saturday? Okay. So it's
Saturday,
because
I'm going to the game. I'm covering it for work.
Perfect. So like this is going to be the test because Kansas has a pretty good team. I'm not going to say they're great, but they have a pretty good team. Like, what's his name? Daniels. Their quarterback is really good. Jalen. Like he could be the, I would say the dark horse of the NCAA this year. And that's kind of crazy to say for a Kansas football team. So it's good to have the rivalry back though. Like I'm really excited. Like, it's been a while since we've had a Missouri Kansas football game. And, it's one of those rivalries that just, oh man, border war, I love it. And, but Missouri's receivers looked really good. I was very worried with losing Luther Burden and losing that ability to move the ball with Brady
And
Cook
losing
down.
Theo Weiss. Theo Weiss was a
Yeah,
great
Theo
receiver too. They
Weiss was
lost.
good. So, with Johnson and Manning coming in and performing the way they performed, I think Bo taking the helm is going to be a very, very productive year for Mizzou's offense. The biggest side of the ball that I was looking at was basically their defense. I was really concerned with their defense. They did lose a little bit of defense from last year, but they only held Central Arkansas to 227 yards. They forced 2 turnovers. Their linebacker play was outstanding. Outstanding. Um, they were stout against the run, only allowing 154 yards on 39 carries. So again, that is a lot of yards, but that is a lot of time that they caused Central Arkansas to eat up because they just physically couldn't move the ball. So I would say passing defense is a little bit ahead of run defense, but then again, they played phenomenally. I'm excited for this game coming up, and hopefully with Bo now taking the actual helm, this team can now start to get on a roll because Daniel and I talked about it. Like, you can't be going into week 3, week 4 with and still scratching your head going, I don't know, because you are in the SEC. We literally just talked about it. SEC defense is no joke this year. Is no joke. So it's going to be a good season. I hopefully want to say for Missouri, the product that they put on the field on Thursday night looked really good. But again, it was against Central Arkansas. So we'll see. Bo had some really good throws. That 51-yard touchdown over the middle, just stepped into it. Like, he looked better than Arch Manning. like that's like, let's talk about this. Like, this is a dude that transferred from Penn State that barely saw the field at Penn State and just came out like he had been a starter for the last 2 years. Like, he played well. He looked very poised under pressure. Granted, Central Arkansas in the second half didn't get a lot of pressure. It was kind of just all you can eat buffet kind of thing. So it's going to be one of those games where Saturday, man, I think it might be back and forth, but I have Mizzou winning by 10. So I have it.
Should be fine.
I have it 27-17. That's what I got.
Third oldest rivalry in college football, and they're bringing it back. Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's the third oldest rivalry since like the late 1800s that they've been playing each other.
And that Mizzou Stadium is going to look awesome when they're done with the remodel.
I think it's going through a lot of changes. So
yeah,
they're still keeping the M, but they're making it more like SEC stadium like. So
good, because like, you are in the SEC, you should have a stadium that is built like an SEC school. You want to play against these high caliber teams in these high caliber spots on TV, right? Like, you don't just want to be an SEC game on the network. You want to be on CBS, you want to be on ABC, you want to be on Fox. Like, you want to be on these televised spots because that means it's one, you're putting enough product on the field that people want to watch, not just in Missouri, but outside of it. And you got teams that are like 100%. We want to go to that atmosphere. We want to play in that. And so I think it'll be good moving the SEC to a mandatory 9 SEC game season next year. It definitely bodes well for competition. You don't have this patty cake 4-game schedule anymore. And it's going to make college football that much better with the SEC moving to the way it is. So any final thoughts, college football related, moving forward? This week's games coming up, I'm pretty sure week 1 was the best week. Week 2, we have some good games. Nothing to write home about. Week 3 is when we really are going to talk about college football, because week 3 is, I don't think I'm going to move from the couch for like 20 hours. It's kind of crazy how good week 3 is. So, all right, well, let's move into the last bit. We're going to talk about football. We were going to talk about baseball, but we're going to move that to Thursday.
Let me pause real quick, because I know you want to skip over baseball, but I want to call out a couple things real quick.
Okay.
All right. Just got to make this known. Cal Raleigh has tied Mickey Mantle.
The big dumper.
Yeah.
Which is huge. Okay. Second ever switch hitter to ever hit 50 home runs in a season.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That is big.
But then on top of that, Judge yesterday tied Yogi Berra.
He tied Yogi,
fifth in franchise history for home runs. So he's behind DiMaggio. Could do it. He's at 358, and I think DiMaggio was 360 something, 361. So he's right there on the cusp. But he's a long way off from hitting Lou Gehrig and Mantle and Babe Ruth.
Well, then if we're going to talk about that, there's two players that I want to mention then from the baseball. Bobby Witt is the fastest player to hit 150 home runs. So let's think about that. Like Bobby Witt's not even 30 years old, and he already has 150.
That's impressive.
Here we go. Salvi is only 4 home runs away from hitting the 300 club. So this is the question. This is the question that I have. Okay. Salvi has had a very, very, very good career. Okay. Do you think he is a Hall of Famer as a catcher?
Oh, most definitely.
Do you think he's done enough? I think
so.
he is.
I think he
is. If
he won't be first ballot,
300.
So
no, but I think he has done enough to go into the Hall of Fame, and if he continues to play, like I think he said that he wants to play well for at least the next 3 or 4 years.
He wants to play until he's 40. I thought.
Yeah,
what he came out and said. So
like. He debuted in 2011. Like I'm pretty sure he had just a call up and everything like that. But he is a 9-time All-Star. Okay, he is won a World Series MVP. He's won a World Series. His all-time hitting. He is been in the league for 14 years. He has an on-base percentage of a 302, a batting average of a 265. And he has hit 296 home runs. So he's 4 home runs away from hitting the 300 club. I would say if he continues to play for the next 3 or 4 years, he might creep into that first ballot Hall of Fame category. I would say he would. However, I don't know. Like his production this year has kind of fallen. I mean, he's still hitting 240, 250, so that's okay. Like you want your hitters to be hitting 240, 250, especially if you're a team that's trying to make a playoff run. You want majority of your hitters hitting 250 up realistically. The Royals have gotten better situationally on hitting. Obviously, I think Detroit is just a little bit too much for them. They should have took 2 games in Detroit. They realistically should have won that, and they realistically should have won Friday. So this is now 2 series against Detroit where they should have won those series and they've lost them. And it's because of pitching. Lugo threw bad Friday, and then series in Detroit starting pitching didn't play very well. So I think now the only opportunity that the Royals have is making a wild card. And they are only 2.5 games back to Seattle. Seattle's not played well, and they have a really tough schedule. Seattle does, so it's very doable for the Royals to creep in. You're not catching Boston or New York; they're just too far ahead. So that it's only that 3rd spot. But if you make that 3rd spot, it's going to be a tough game because you're going to Houston to play in Houston.
Yeah.
So it's going to be rough. And then let's just say hypothetically you win in Houston, then you're playing Toronto. So
yeah, have fun with that.
Have fun with that. Like, yes,
So.
we swept Toronto earlier this year, but we have Toronto coming into KC here at the end of the month, or close to it here in a couple weeks. And if you want any remote chance of making it, your biggest series that are coming up are with the Phillies, Toronto, and with Seattle. Those are the series that you have to win. And if you don't win that, you better hope and pray that Seattle continues to not play well, despite having Cal Raleigh do the things that he's been doing. So, all right. Well, Thursday, we're going to talk more baseball. We're going to get into it because, again, we are on a race for October right now, and baseball is starting to really get into that prime run. Like, again, baseball realistically goes flat from mid-June all the way till like end of August. Like, you just realistically, there's not a lot to talk about because everybody's still kind of in the midst of the dog days of summer. And then now you're getting really ready for that postseason run. So it's good to see the Royals still in it. I think the division is out of hand unless Detroit just falls apart somehow. Turk Skubal, gets his arm blown out. Flaherty just loses the ability to throw a fastball. So, but I don't think that's happening. So anyways, all right. Last little bit. Let's go ahead and jump in for the last 20 minutes or so. Let's talk about the NFL. So NFL week 1 is upon us this week, kicking off with Cowboys Eagles Thursday night. Dan and myself are really excited because, obviously us
fuck
both
Dak
teams.
Prescott, fuck the Cowboys, bunch of bitches over there. That star is not just a logo; it's actually a rating. Okay, it's 1 out of 5 stars, and they are a 1-star team. Let's just be real. They got rid of Micah Parsons, my guys. Like
the Micah Parsons less Dallas Cowboys now. So
right.
that's something that we wanted to talk about. So we were going to do recording Thursday, the day that Micah Parsons got traded to Green Bay. Unfortunately, I had some family issues come up, so we didn't record. So I'm going to talk about this. All right. This is what I really wanted to get into. I don't really care about the 53-man rosters. We'll talk a little bit about shockers for the Chiefs because, again, there's some guys that got dropped. There's position groups that the Chiefs brought in that is very surprising. And we'll get into that. But first, I want to talk about this. So Micah Parsons. Weren't we all three just talking about this? The first recording that we recorded, we were talking about Jerry Jones and his inability to sign key players. And literally just last week, Daniel and I were talking about that is a good way to fuck up a culture on a football team. It is a great way to do it. And Jerry Jones, you just literally played into our buffet. It's an all-you-can-eat shit-on-you Jerry Jones buffet that we're about to have right now. Because you went on the plane and greeted Kenny Clark, and that was the same airport that Micah Parsons was taking off from. Okay? You're going to let an all-pro defensive linebacker go and not pay him the money he deserves, but yet you're going to dump millions and billions of dollars into your sports complex because all you fucking give a shit about is selling merchandise and putting people in the seats at Dallas Star Stadium. And all you give a shit about is like, let's all talk about the Dallas Cowboys and how good we used to be in the 90s and everything. Well, this isn't the 90s anymore. Okay? You have to fucking pay players. Like, hometown discounts, I hate to tell you, are not a thing.
You realize it's been so long since they won a Super Bowl that the cheerleaders that were on the field in that last season that they won a Super Bowl are now eating fruit cups at the local nursing home.
I was 2 years old. I was 2 years old when they won the Super Bowl the last time.
How about the fact that most of the players on that team weren't even born?
Yeah.
When that happened. Okay.
I'm in so shock that literally, I kid you not, we were just talking about this 2 weeks ago. And we basically said, is Micah Parsons going to get his contract or is he just going to go deuces? And guess what? Deuces.
That's the latter.
What happened. So but it's crazy. How do you not pay one of the best linebackers in football? Like, how do you not do that? Is it a money problem? Do you feel like you can go into the draft and go, all right, now we got 4 draft picks. We can draft somebody just as good as Micah Parsons? I'm sorry. Micah Parsons is, again, a generational talent. Like what are we doing?
But to a team that already kicked your ass, and now you're going to give them more ammunition.
To a team that you can't beat in the playoffs, by the way. Who have you?
To a team that now is the front runner in the NFC North because of that one player. So again, I'm going to go back to this. One player can make the difference. One player can. One player can change the outcome of a team on defense. Green Bay already had a really good defense. Okay. Now they have an elite defense. Like, what are you doing, Jerry Jones? Because now who is going to be your defense?
Because that was the
Deron
face of your
Bland.
defense. That was the face
Like-
of your
like-
defense that you just traded away. So
And you can't rely on Diggs because Diggs has been hurt for the last 2 years. So, like, what are we doing?
How do you think Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and that whole front line are really feeling about Thursday night right about now?
Oh, I bet they're going, man,
other
we're
than
about
giggling.
to feast. We're about
Other
to
than giggling
feast.
the whole time, because they already knew that it was going to be a fun time, just running all over them again. But here we are. We have one less thing we have to worry about.
I'm at a loss for words. I really am. Like, I
have the words. Fuck
I'm
the Cowboys.
I'm shocked they didn't get more in return for him. I know they got 2 firsts, but just 2 firsts and Kenny Clark. Like, that's it. I mean, that was more shocking to me, was the return.
That's a slap in the face.
Well, and people are saying that's the biggest trade in NFL history. I'm like, well, Tyreek Hill and the Kansas City Chiefs got way more than what the Dallas Cowboys got for probably one of the best defensive players. And again, it comes to the same adage: defense wins championships, right? Defense wins championships. You can have the best offense. So, like, when Kansas City beat the 49ers the first year, or for the first Super Bowl in 50 years, right? They had a really bad defense, but down the stretch and into the playoffs, their defense played as the top defense in the league. Okay. They went up against the 49ers defense. That was the number 1 defense in the league. Number 1, I think Kansas City was the number 1 offense or something like that. But it goes to show you that defenses win championship. And now you just, in the same conference, not the same division, but the same conference, you literally just gave the Green Bay Packers the keys to the throne. Here you go. You can go and win your NFC North now, because we know Minnesota ain't doing it with a rookie quarterback. And we can't trust Caleb Williams right now because, again, we don't know what product he's going to put out there. And the only other competition is the Detroit Lions, but for some reason they can't stay healthy the last 2 years on defense. I mean, their best opportunity was 2 years ago when they were up 27-3 at halftime over the 49ers.
And Dan Campbell got too aggressive. Yeah.
So again, you got one team, the Green Bay Packers, that have been to the playoffs the last 3 years, have won their division, have gone to Jordan Love, have rebolstered that offense, rebolstered the running room, and now just added a key piece on defense. Like, what are we doing, Dallas? Like, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed to be a Dallas Cowboy fan. I'm sorry. You really should. Because if that doesn't tell you how shitty your team realistically is and your owner is, then I don't know what's going to. Because look at the Dak Prescott situation for his contract. Look at the CeeDee Lamb situation for his contract. Look how long it took him to pay those guys. Look at the whole head coach situation. Like, you waited and waited and waited to fire Mark McCarthy, knowing that you were going to fire him. You had it primed, ready to go to bring anybody in, let alone Kellen Moore, let alone anybody. And you didn't do it. And then now look what you do with Dak Prescott. You just let him walk into the sunset. I would understand trading him to like Baltimore or somebody like in the AFC, but you traded him to an NFC contender.
To an NFC team. Yeah. To an NFC team. Not only a good NFC team. So, yeah.
A very well coached NFC team.
Yes.
So Thursday night is going to be just the absolute shit show of a shit show for the Dallas Cowboys. I will be very shocked if it's remotely close. Now, I do understand Philly did lose a lot of people on defense. I understand that. But
they retained a lot. And
they did retain a lot. So if you think as a Dallas Cowboy fan, you're going to have any chance in this football game, you might as well forget it. Just absolutely forget it. Because the Eagles are going to run all over you. I don't know what the status of Devontae Smith is, if he's going to play or not. I imagine he will. But that defense is not going to get any pressure on Jalen Hurts, especially with the line that they have. And it's just, And that's just not me coming as an Eagles fan. That is me just coming as pure football knowledge. Like pure football knowledge. That's it. Like you traded your best key position where people had to scheme for him. And now he's gone. Oh, you got Kenny Clark? Oh, great. Who gives a shit? He's not Chris Jones. He's not going to attract double teams left and right. Like what are we doing?
He's a solid player, but he's no Micah Parsons, that's for sure.
No, he's no Micah Parsons. He's no TJ Watt. He's no what's his name from
Hutchinson from the Lions.
Hutchinson, and he's no Myles Garrett from the Browns. Like if you got one of those guys in return, then I would be like, okay, yeah, that was fine. It kind of worked out. Like you can go younger on linebacker. You can probably pick up a really good linebacker first round pick. But man, like what are you doing? Like, you know what you should have done? You should have tagged and traded him. Because then if you tagged and trade him, guess what you could have done? You probably could have gotten more for him instead of waiting until him going, I'm not going to play because I don't have a contract, and doing all this and then asking for a trade. If you tagged and traded him, at least it would have showed him that, hey, we're going to try to work out a contract for you, but we know that you're going to have guaranteed money so you can at least sign the contract. But if you tagged and traded him, you could have won. Let's just say, for instance, like Kansas City comes knocking. You're like, hey, we can get rid of Bolton, give you Bolton and somebody else, and then get rid of some first round picks, because I would have done that. I 100% would have been like, 100%, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Maybe not Bolton. Bolton's really good. But man, it'll be interesting to see what Dallas looks like on Thursday night. So other big news, Rishi Rice gets his suspension. 6 games. I'm sure everybody's talked about it already, but I want to talk about this. So did you guys see that the NFL originally started out with like 10 or 12 game suspension, and Rishi Rice was like, nah, 4. And the NFL was like 8. He's like, nah, 4. And then NFL was like 8. And Rishi was like, nope, we're going to go to a judge. And then all of a sudden now, like the NFL's like, oh, hey, we can't get to you until September 30th. And they're like, well, I don't really want to get halfway through the season or into the season and miss like 6 or 7 games and then have to come back. So I see why they kind of was like, all right, 6 is fine. But do you think the punishment fits the bill, or do you think it should have been less?
I think it does, because again, they seriously hurt some people in that crash. I thought it was going to be 4 to 6. I was shocked that the NFL wanted 10 originally, because it's like, well, no one died. So, but I would say 6
and
games.
He's paid his dues.
He's paid his dues, and I mean, he's going to do community service, and he's got to do 30 days of jail time over these 5 years of probation that he's on. But I think 6 is enough, and I'm just glad that they did this at the beginning of the year, because again, I agree with Rishi. Why get suspended middle of the season when the Chiefs are trying to do a late like postseason push towards the end of the year? They're going to need him on the field. So I'd rather, it sucks that he misses for Chiefs fans. It sucks for the first 6 games, because they play some really good teams these first 6 games here. But that's what you need to do. You need to have it at the beginning of the year and just get it out of the way.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it's going to really kind of hurt Kansas City. But again, now this is going to bridge into the conversation with 53 for Kansas City. Brett, I don't know if you're with me, but I'm very shocked that they kept 8 wide receivers on that roster.
Well, and I think they did that because they saw this Rishi thing coming, right? I mean, I think they wanted to just have some assurance, just in case Hollywood gets injured again, or somebody else gets injured or doesn't play well. I'm not really surprised they kept Tyquan Thornton. Tyquan Thornton, as you guys know, and in all the preseason games and training camp, he played very well, and he's going to be a very good special teams player. I know Dave Toad talked about it multiple times about him being a gunner, going down on punt and kick coverage. And Jason Brownlee's played really well as well in training camp, and he obviously had that really nice touchdown reception in the preseason game against Arizona. Again, I think it's just assurance. They're trying to get ready for this Rishi Rice suspension, and now they have options. I mean, you've got Hollywood, you've got Worthy, you've got Juju, you've got Jalen Royals, you've got the two guys I just mentioned who have played well. I think you got Nico, and I forgot about Nico. You forget about Nico. Nico's a great special teams guy as well, who's been there year in and year out. He knows the offense. So and Pat's really starting to build a rapport with these guys, especially Jalen Royals and the Tyquan Thorntons. So that's why I think they kept 8 receivers, just to get ready for this Rishi Rice stuff.
And it's crazy that this is the most amount of receivers that I want to say Andy has ever kept. I remember one year he kept 7, but that was also because we didn't understand who our wide receivers were going to be. And I came in a couple weeks ago and I said, I think this is the best wide receiver core that Patrick has ever had. And I'm even putting that up against Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, and what's his name? He played for the Rams. Robinson.
Demarcus
Robinson. So, like, the fact that he has this much talent around him, and let's not forget, Kansas City last year did not have Rishi Rice, did not have Hollywood Brown, had a rookie wide receiver, had Juju Smith-Schuster, and Sky Moore and all these McCole Hardmans and fill-ins.
Justin Watson.
And Justin Watson. And they went 15-2. Now, granted, there was some luck involved. I will be the first one to say it. There was some luck.
Refs.
Mm-hmm. Don't get me started on this ref thing. Guys, just don't get me started. I've already went off on somebody this year already about refs, so we're not going to go down that bridge again. But they still went to the Super Bowl. Now we have a year where Hollywood is healthy-ish right now, I think. We'll see. You have Xavier Worthy, sophomore year. You have Rishi Rice that is back from obviously his injury, but he's going to be suspended 6 games. And then you have a guy, Jalen Royals, that his game very mimics Rishi Rice. And then you have hands down, probably for the life of me, I don't know why New England was like, we don't need you anymore. Tyquan Thornton. Like, dude is obviously an amazing talent, can pinpoint footballs left and right. But then you also have this dark horse in Jason Brownlee. And he was so good at the Jets. And I remember watching the Hard Knocks and him making that football team. And he just seems like he is going to be that Justin Ross guy in the corner of the end zone, pinpoint it, throw it up, and go make a grab kind of player. So it sucks that Rishi Rice is going to be suspended in the beginning of the year. It does suck that it's going to be 6 games, but I'm happy at least it's 6 games. I'm happy it's not 12. If it was 12, I'd be like, well, shit, you might as well just set him out the whole entire season, because it's like you only get 17 games. So you're only going to play 5. All right. So that's 2 years in a row we lose a big wide receiver. So at least it's 6. I think they'll be fine come Friday night against the Chargers. Chargers have already dealt with a lot of injuries already, which sucks. It really does. I mean, they lose one of the best left tackles in Rashawn Slater. Pick what's his name from right tackle back over to left tackle, Joe Alt. I thought Joe Alt was going to be an amazing left tackle, but last year he did not play very well at left tackle. So it's going to be interesting to see if he's going to regress back to what he was. I would assume not, right? Second year coming now, I would assume he wouldn't. But I think the other big thing is like field condition. That last year, that Eagles-Packers game, the field was awful. So hopefully the fields are a little bit better shape. I'm always weary about week 1 field condition. Players are amped and injuries tend to happen. Like, I understand it's football, injuries do happen, but I'm a little weary about that. So
because Arizona had field problems a couple years ago, and remember that's when Butker got hurt week 1, and he was really banged up the rest of the year because of that bad field conditions. And remember that's where the Super Bowl was played, and I mean the players were slipping around when the Chiefs and the Eagles played in the Super Bowl later that year. So field conditions matter, especially early on in the year when, again, if guys get injured early on like that, I mean that could really down and screw a team.
Yeah, I mean, I think another team that's, I wouldn't say hurting at the time, but losing Joe Mixon for the first 4 games of the year for Houston is pretty rough. It's pretty rough for my fantasy team too, because I drafted Joe Mixon and unfortunately now he has to sit on the bench for 4 weeks. So, but that team, man, I'm gonna take a take here. I think that offensive team, passing wise, is probably going to be one of the best in the NFL. With how many receivers that they got both receivers from Iowa State. They also have Nico Collins, and they have a Nick Chubb that you obviously don't know what Nick Chubb is going to be, but like they have the ability to be a really good offense passing the ball. But it does suck that they lose Joe Mixon for the first 4 weeks, and they now are going to have to turn to guys that they brought in, or you just don't know in the backfield. So, all right, let's do this. Let's go through the matchups here. We're going to start with Dallas Philly. Who do you got? What's the score prediction for Dallas Philly? Brett, what do you got?
Well, I mean, again, like you guys said, I think it's going to be all Eagles. I would say, well, yeah, I would say Philly's probably going to come out ready to roll. I'm going to say it's 38 Philly, 38-17 Eagles.
Wow. Route. Okay. Dan the man, what do you got?
77 Eagles, -3 Cowboys. No, I expect to see at least that
Start
35.
Calling you Fesco.
Yeah, 35, but I don't see the Cowboys doing more than 10, honestly.
Okay. So
pretty close.
Man, I guess I'm the only one that's kind of going to play this a little close. I got it 31-17 Philly. So not as bad, but still pretty much a blowout in the scope of things. All right, Kansas City Chargers. And again, Thursday, we'll go through a little bit more in depth on this and then more into the NFL leading up to that Sunday. But what do we got, Brett, for Chiefs Chargers?
Well, whenever these guys play, and remember when they played in Mexico a couple years ago, that was a really close game, right down to the wire. Chargers always play the Chiefs tough. I'm going to say KC wins, but it's not going to be by much. I'm going to say, let's go. I'll go 24. I'll go 24-20. Chiefs get the win.
24-20.
So.
Okay.
I have 28-14.
28-14. All right. Yeah. I mean, I would like that. I have Kansas City over 30. I have it 35-24. That's what I have it. 35-24. I think Kansas City comes out prepared. I think they throw the ball down the field a lot. I think that the Chargers secondary is not going to be able to keep up. I know you still have Derwin James. I get that. But I think Travis Kelce has a resurgence game. And then I think that there's just way too many weapons across that field. And Tyquan Thornton comes in and has a big game.
Plus Christian Fulton revenge game, maybe?
Exactly.
On defense,
so that's what I'm saying. So. 35-24, handedly win. I think it's close the first half. It probably goes in like 17-14, and then Kansas City just outbids them, outbreaks, just beats the crap out of them in the second half. So Baltimore-Buffalo, Sunday night football game. All right. This is going to be a good matchup. This is going to be a rematch of the divisional, where people thought that it was probably going to be the game of the year. I think the Kansas City Buffalo game for the AFC Championship was the game of the year, just because how close it was. It was so back and forth. What do we got? Baltimore at Buffalo. for opening Sunday night?
Dan, you want to go first?
Man, it's at Buffalo. That's going to be a tough one. I'm going to say Buffalo, but I think that's going to be a tight, like 17-14 type game. I think the defenses are going to dig in, and it's going to be tough on either offense to really get going. I think the tipping point for that is just the fact that it's in Buffalo.
I'll go. I'll take the upset here. I'll say Baltimore wins in a close game, and Derrick Henry's the difference maker down the stretch, scores a late touchdown. I'll say Baltimore wins this one. Ooh, man, I think it's going to be pretty high scoring. I say Baltimore wins this one 35, and then let's go Buffalo 32. I'll say 35-32 is the final.
All right. I'm on the same boat as Brett here. I have Baltimore winning this game. I do not trust Buffalo's defense. They are young. I outside of Edmonds and some other guys, I don't really know who they're going to have out there. So I'm going to go Baltimore. I think that Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, I think they're going to learn from that loss from Buffalo from a year ago. I think obviously it's going to be in Buffalo. It's going to be rocking. Buffalo's going to come out. They're going to put up points, but I think it's 35-27 Baltimore. That is what I'm going. So finally, last game, Monday night, and then on Thursday, we'll break down more of the games around the league. I'll be very interested to see how New England does, how Cincinnati does, and again, how Pittsburgh does. But this is the last game we're going to cover for today. Minnesota Vikings at Chicago Bears Monday night. Is this the resurgence year for Caleb Williams, or can the rookie J.J. McCarthy outbid him and outdo him with Justin Jefferson? So let's take some takes. I'm going to go first here. All right. I have, believe it or not, the Chicago Bears winning this game. I have the Chicago Bears winning this game 21-17 in a good match, defensive battle. I don't think, I don't trust rookie quarterbacks. I know J.J. McCarthy has looked great in camp, and I know he's looked good in preseason. But with Justin Jefferson's injury being up in the air, I don't know, like, how severe is it? Is he going to play? I would assume he's going to play. But I think that Chicago Bears offensive line is definitely better. However, if they play like they played Kansas City in preseason week 3, I don't know. They're going to struggle because they did not look good at all whenever it was ones versus ones. But I will give Chicago Bears the edge here, 21-17 for Monday night or opening night.
I'm going to say this game is going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly. Minnesota, I mean, remember, they don't have Addison at receiver for the first 3 games of the year. That is going to hurt them. I think I'm going to pick Minnesota here, but they're going to have just enough because, I think Chicago plays them tough. But again, like you said, their defense against Kansas City in that preseason game where their starters were on the field, they did not play well. So, and I think the Vikings have enough guys to make some plays down the field. I am going to pick Minnesota in this game, and I think, man, it's going to be, it'll be another low-scoring game. I pick Minnesota 26, Chicago, let's go, I'll say 26-14 will be the final of that one. So.
As much as I'd like to pick the Bears, I do agree. I think that Chicago's defense is going to crumple, and Caleb Williams is going to be running for his life, even against a, shall we say, lackluster Vikings team. But I think J.J. McCarthy finds a little bit of life, gets bailed out. I'm looking at 23-20 Vikings.
23-20. All right. Well, that is it for today. We are going to come back Thursday. We're going to cover more of the MLB. We're going to cover more of the NFL. Like, what the hell is going on in Cincinnati? Can Cincinnati get off to a better start this year than they did the last couple of years? And then we're also going to talk about a little bit New England football. I am really excited for Trayvon Henderson in New England. I think with him, with Drake May, and again, a brand new coaching staff, I am very excited because I actually have New England a little bit higher in that division and possibly giving Buffalo a little bit of run for their money this year. I am pulling for them. I think with the updates that they have done to that roster, to that coaching staff, I think they're going to have Mike Vrabel just having that team ready and raring to go. Again, remember last year they had really good defense until some injuries happened, and then they kind of faltered off. So we'll cover some more things with Washington Commanders, how we think that their team's going to go. Obviously, Terry McLaurin got his contract. Good for him. Happy for him. I think that is definitely needed. Can't really trust Deebo Samuel going into this season, especially, first year into a new team. But we're going to cover more and everything. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Enjoy the Labor Day. Deuces.